Am I on? Greetings if there's any other life out there. The day is of May in 2017. World War III has brought America against the rest of the world in the fight against communism. All of our borders are surrounded by communists, and Russia has announced that they have launched up a nuclear missile. It is currently en route to our mainland, and we have 25 minutes. We are using this time of life to do our job as historians and to portray the best of our society to.
On May 17, 1954, the United States Supreme Court handed down its ruling in the landmark case of Brown v. Board of Education of Topeka, Kansas. The court's unanimous decision overturned provisions of the 1896 Plessy v. Ferguson decision, which had allowed for separate but equal public facilities, including public schools in the United States, declaring that separate educational facilities are inherently unequal. The Brown v. Board decision helped break the back of state-sponsored segregation and provided a spark to the American Civil Rights Movement. What makes this Supreme Court decision vital to American history was that it marked a turning point for all Americans and finally represented America as an equal country. Ever since the American colonies separated from the British, America claimed to be an equal country that supported everyone's rights. However, in reality, slavery was a major issue in America from 1776 to 1865. African Americans were slaves under white landowners until the Civil War, but the events that followed after the war didn't change much on how African Americans were viewed socially in society. White Americans hovered over all other races in the United States and were at the top of the social classes. Facilities, schools, and public places were separated by race. The government at the time called it equal to separate the two races. However, African Americans were being treated unjustly and unfairly. Brown v. Board of Education case finally changed the inequality in America and gave equal opportunity to all races.
In 1945, the U.S. created the United Nations with the goal to maintain international peace, protect human rights, deliver humanitarian aid, promote sustainable development, and uphold international law. The United Nations has catalyzed the process of globalization. The United Nations is a representation of our commitment to protect the world. The United Nations is very vocal and plays a huge role in humanitarian crises abroad. They currently work in countries like Venezuela and Syria, where oppressive leaders withhold human rights from their own people. It is important to remember that the United States is backed by many countries and has the power to place sanctions on oppressive countries in order to encourage them to promote human rights. Silicon Valley is the heart of American ingenuity. We have connected the world from pole to pole and sea to sea. We have brought forth the likes of Apple, Microsoft, and Google. Apple is best known for their iPhone. Microsoft is best known for its computers. Google is best known for its search engines. Google is the best representation of the Silicon Valley because of its ideas that come out so often and its influence abroad. Google has helped people search and connect in ways never seen before. This is the whole concept of Silicon Valley. It's an area that is ahead of its time, working together and also competing against one another to push technology to its brink. Over the history of the world, we are now producing new innovative items at an astonishing rate unseen before. If you look at the time from when man started walking to when man made the fire, to when man rode the horse, to when man made the car, to when man made the plane, to when man made the telephone, to when man made the iPhone, what do you realize? The amount of time between these inventions decreases. Silicon Valley has become a catalyst of this trend.
And I knew that I really wanted to work with technology and be able to be.
Thomas Paine authored Common Sense, which included 79 pages in which he offered nothing short of simple facts, plain arguments, and common sense. His arguments were straightforward and geared towards inspiring American independence, and also the creation of a democratic republic to replace the British government. Paine advocated the abandonment of reconciliation and insisted on declaring America's independence, but he also went much further. He proposed to reject British heritage, condemn the monarchical system, and embrace democracy after the war and enlighten the world. Thomas Paine's writing inspired a revolution in the way many people thought, and this is where real revolution occurred. Paine's pamphlet was so important because he expressed clearly and lucidly what so many people were thinking, but were not able to put in words. Paine's words still have an effect today and have inspired revolutionaries in Syria and Venezuela alike.
The Statue of Liberty represents everything America stands for and is one of America's greatest symbols or artifacts. The Statue of Liberty was gifted from France to America and embodies several things that the United States stands for. The Statue of Liberty is a sign of hope, freedom, and liberty. The Statue of Liberty comes from the Roman goddess that represents freedom from tyranny. The Statue of Liberty holds a lit torch to represent spreading fire around the world and enlightening the world. Overall, it stands for democracy and welcomes any immigrants that want to be a part of a democracy. It is located in New York City, New York. This general idea was born in even more general symbolism. The statue represents freedom in the broadest sense, the freedom of peoples against its oppressors. There's also a patriotic effect. Waving a torch in the statue's position is a symbol of resistance. Such a symbol has also been used in the student repression in Tiananmen Square in 1989. By cons almost everywhere in the world where the United States are seen as liberators, the statue represents freedom, a significant period.
September 11, 2001. This day marks the most horrific attack on American soil, the World Trade Center in New York, made up of 2 towers that were destroyed by terrorists that hijacked airplanes flying into New York. For the first time in American history, safety was a concern. America hadn't had a foreign attack since Pearl Harbor in 1941. Fear and depression struck Americans following the attacks. Citizens did not feel safe in their own homes. The city of New York decided to create a memorial honoring those that lost their lives during the terrorist attack. Daniel Libeskind led the project that would take 6 years to complete. Today, the Freedom Tower, or One World Trade Center, stands at a total height of 1,776 feet. Its height in feet is a deliberate reference to the year when the United States Declaration of Independence was signed. This monument truly exemplifies why America is so extraordinary. Today, the Freedom Tower represents our great nation. It represents the internal philosophies that is bound to the law as well as the morals of this great country. The creation of the tower reflects the perseverance of the American spirit, the idea that if you fall, you can get